History isn't about the dates, places, and wars. It's about the people and the spaces between them. That's what Jodi Picoult said in The Storyteller. Most of you are familiar with history and the concept of environment. I'm pretty sure most of you, in thinking about history, went, oh, history. Most people do. So that's why I went with this. Every time I've ever said something to someone, especially being a history major and a grad student of history, most of the time these are the responses that I get. It's humorous, but at the same time, it's true. It really is. People say, well, what can you do with that? Are you going to teach? Oh, I hate history. That's their response. So this idea and this concept came from this right here, that I hate history. I'm a grad student at UNF, and honestly, it was a bit crazy to introduce digital history. And I wanted to talk about digital history in our local community, and really a participatory culture, to be able to use digital history to make history come to life again, because it isn't just places, dates, and times, or wars. It's about the people. And so to do this, I'm going to go through my experience with history and using digital history in the classroom, and finally, how we can use it in the community. So, like I said, this is what I ended up with. So I decided, as I went in through school, that history was boring. Well, the high school level history. It was awful. It was terrible. I didn't like it. I hated it. I slept through it. And being someone who studies history, it's not what you expect to hear, that they slept through a history class. So I'm not surprised when people say, I hate history. But I wanted to make it different. I wanted to change it. I wanted to think about it in a different way. And so before I knew it, I was on this path to start something different. So I took it into the classroom. And of course, most of my students, when I first got there, they were doing lectures, reading from the book, and answering questions. Most of the time, they were leaving it blank, copying from the book, or just making something up and putting it in there. And that was problematic for me as far as grading went, because I didn't know what they were talking about. So I started bringing in images, archives, pictures of artwork, buildings, anything that could get them visually engaged to think about history more than a book. And for me, too, I like looking at the objects because that's what makes history real. Basically, the concept came from studying digital history, and that's really the best way to explain it. And the concept is a bunch of different words thrown together and concepts. Basically, in the classroom, my kids did a couple of different things. In one class, they were creating a virtual trip. In this instance, they created digital timelines, and they were going to set out and look up different images and time frames and put them onto a timeline. In another class, they were doing creative writing assignments, which for kids who didn't want to write and were putting one-word answers, at first it didn't go so well. And then we started to move through, and they started to see history as more than just words on a page. And I actually got some of the most interesting stories I'd ever seen. They were writing, they were thinking critically, and it changed how they did history. The concept that I'm putting before you is talking about a digital repository. So thinking about history not just in the sense of the classroom, but going outside of the classroom, using it in archives, in museums, in different places, in different ways. You think about digital history, and usually it's images that are stuck in a box and nobody sees them. They kind of forget about them. They stay there and nobody touches them again. I kind of want to bring those out of the box. And I want people to connect with our local history because we don't have a lot here as far as local history goes. With the big exhibits, you can basically touch or look at everything there is in a larger institution. But smaller institutions, not so much. So the concept is to get people to move out into the world and think about history, but in a local context. So far, what I've done with digital history is used it in the classroom, and I've thought about it in the archive setting. So in these images, as you can see, the stuff is staying in boxes. It stays there until it deteriorates and falls apart. My idea and the concept of a digital repository is to move them out of the boxes, but not necessarily just scanning images and making them available, but thinking about different ways we can use this stuff. Walking tours through mobile apps, using it with anything you can think of, really. Another concept that I've seen it used with, they've used it with maps, it's been used in mobile apps, walking tours, virtual field trips, real field trips. It's used as a component to a physical exhibit. It's very different, it's something new and exciting, and it's a different way to let people connect with history. I went out and searched to see how much is out there and how many people are consuming history. It's not one of those things that people think about or want to engage with. So I went out and looked to see what exists. It's out there. People are consuming it. My question to you, is it possible here? Can we do this here? Can we bring Jacksonville history to life and let it be available for everyone? Thank you very much.